Good morning, everyone. The concepts that we were discussing in the last session was about the principles of enzyme immobilization, and we were also discussing about the applications of immobilized enzymes at various segments. In today's session, we will try to understand about the waste treatment. As we all know, the waste products, be it from the manufacturing process or the treatment facility, must be treated for the impurities present within it, for the reason that they are hazardous to the nature. So we must ensure that we make them harmless to the environment. And we are generating more garbage. From national perspective, we are generating more garbage, and the interesting thing is we do not know what to do with it, and we are following methods which are ineffective or irresponsible disposal of the waste. So ultimately it is leading to the pollution of the environment, and it is also significantly posing a public health risk. The suggestion given is to go for landfill, but we are aware of the fact that we are running out of space in existing landfills. And now people are discovering that once it was assumed that the garbage could be buried or burned and you can forget about it. But now people have realized that there is no easy way to get rid of the garbage. And this is an interesting table which gives you an idea about the decomposition time taken by some of the items listed over here. This is as per the United States Environmental Protection Agency. If you just go through the table, you find that paper towel takes about 2 to 4 weeks, the newspaper about 6 weeks, and if you just go down, it is the cigarette butt which takes about 1 to 5 years, and the plastic bag about 10 to 20 years, and the diapers which takes about 450 years, and the glass bottle takes about 1 million years for decomposition. So there are not no idea about how many generations have to face these issues, right? So moving further, there are three different types of waste that are distinguished. Number one, the solid waste, which may cause serious problems with respect to dumping grounds where it is actually dumped. So the dump it could create problem with respect to the dumping grounds. Then the second one is the wastewater, which may decrease the quality of the surface water. And then we have volatile compounds which cause air pollution. Now there are several methods or approaches or ways which we may have to follow to reduce the occurrence of waste. Number one, the waste prevention. Number two, the development of clean processing methods. Number three, the end of pipe treatment. The most important one, that is prevention of waste production. How to prevent the waste production? Through a careful examination of the production unit or the process in any industry, you may be good enough to identify the source or sources of pollution. So this is the best approach for prevention of waste production. If you can identify the source or the sources of production, that constitutes the best method for prevention of waste production from any industry. Now the development of new and clean processing methods is the second approach. And in the third approach we have end of pipe treatment. So the third approach is the treatment of the produced waste. So waste is already produced. How to go about with respect to treatment of the produced waste? And you have to design a strategy so that the produced waste is treated before it is discharged into the free environment. So this is generally referred to as end of pipe treatment, because this treatment is usually very expensive. The amount of waste to be treated at the third stage, that is end of pipe treatment, should be as small as possible. So waste treatment doesn't come at lower cost. So number one is to identify the source or sources of pollution and prevent of waste production. And you have to develop new and clean processing methods. Finally, you come for end of pipe treatment, and this method is usually very expensive. So the amount of waste that has to be treated at the end of pipe treatment should be as small as possible. Right. So practically all the byproducts may be used in one way or another. You may feel that, or you may look at a particular product as useful, and rest of the material is considered as waste, but there could be some of the byproducts which may be useful in one or the other way. So you should be in a state to explore or practically explore all byproducts which can have the applications in one way or another. So the amount of solid waste that needs to be dumped can be kept small, right? So essentially we are trying to understand is that waste treatment is mandatory, but keeping the waste to the minimum quantity is also equally important, because waste treatment comes with huge cost. And with the exception of cooling water, which in most cases is not polluted. Cooling water, where most of the industries use, it is not polluted, so it can be reused. Right. So wastewater can usually be not reused. So other than cooling water, whatever the wastewater the industry generates cannot be reused. So therefore, there are several methods of treating wastewater, and that can be applied before it is discharged into the free environment or to the surface water. Is that clear? Most human activities generate waste. Despite that, the production of waste remains a major source of concern, as it has always been since the prehistoric period. But in recent times, the rate and quantity of waste generation has tremendously increased compared to the prehistoric period. So as the volume of waste increases, so also does the variety of waste increases. It is not only about the volume of the waste that is being increased in recent times, it is also about the variety of the waste that is increasing. So unlike the prehistoric period where wastes were merely a source of nuisance, so they just wanted to get rid of the waste, and proper management was not a major issue for the reason that the population was very small and vast amount of land was available for the population at that point of time, that is in the prehistoric period. So their main concern was to just get rid of the waste, so just dispose of, because it was considered just as a nuisance. So land was available, they could just dispose it off without considering any other factors. But in recent times, the rate and the quantity of waste that is being generated is tremendously increasing, and it is not about the volume of the waste that is increasing, it is also about the variety of the waste that is increasing. And in prehistoric period, the environment easily absorbed the volume of the waste produced without any form of degradation. So that had the capability because there was vast land, population was small. Right. Now with this concept, we'll try to understand what is waste. An important question in modern day waste management is what exactly constitute a waste? So we all know that waste is a useless byproduct of human activity which physically contains the same substance that are available in the useful product. Right? So you find so many definitions, and waste have also been defined as any product or material which is useless to the producer, may be useful for somebody else, because just we said that it is a useless byproduct of human activity which physically contains the same substance that are available in the useful product. So sometimes it is also defined as the product or material which is useless to the producer alone. Although the waste is essential product of human activities, it is also the result of inefficient production process. So it is not only about the useless byproduct of human activities, it is also the result of inefficient production process whose continuous generation is a loss of vital resources. Right. So waste is a substance which is regarded as a waste to an individual, may be a resource to another individual. So therefore, a material can only be regarded as a waste when the owner labels it as waste or the producer labels it as waste. So it is important to describe what constitutes a waste for the reason that the classification of any material as a waste will form the strong basis or foundation for the regulations required to safeguard the population and the environment. Right? So if you describe a material that it is a waste and it is required for the reason that it will form a foundation for the regulations required to safeguard the population and the environment. So whenever you go for labeling of a material as a waste, that forms a basis for framing the regulation to dispose the waste of or to dispose that material to safeguard the population and the environment. So understanding what the waste is, what constitute a waste, essentially it leads to the foundation for the regulations required to dispose and to safeguard the population and the environment. Right. So waste arises in many different forms and its characterization can be expressed in several forms. Some common characteristics, as we all know, which is used in the classification of waste include number one, the physical states of the material, the physical properties, the reusable potentials, the biodegradable potentials, the source of production, and the degree of environmental impact. So the classification of waste is dependent on the physical state of the material, the physical properties, whether it has having any potential for reuse, whether it is having any potential for biodegradation, what is the source of production, and what is the degree of the waste on the or what is the impact, degree of impact of the waste on the environment, right? The most commonly used classification are as with respect to physical state are the solid waste, the liquid waste and the gaseous waste. So the classification based on the physical state of the waste is the solid waste, the liquid waste and the gaseous waste. With respect to source, we have household or the domestic waste, industrial waste, agriculture waste, commercial waste, demolition or the construction site waste and mining waste. Then with respect to environmental impact, we have hazardous waste and non-hazardous waste. Right. And if you just look at the treatment modalities, most treatment plants follow the following steps. That is number one, preliminary treatment. Number two, primary treatment. Number three, secondary treatment. And number four, tertiary treatment. So essentially, most of the treatment plants, they follow four steps. That is preliminary treatment, primary treatment, secondary treatment and tertiary treatment. So what happens in preliminary treatment? This type of treatment include number one, screening, number two, skimming and number three, settling. So this can lead to the recovery of byproducts, grease and fat and removal of coarse solids. So you can expect some of the byproducts, that is you can recover the byproducts, grease and fat and removal of coarse solids, right? So what is happening in primary treatment? So that we have discussed about preliminary treatment. Now what happens in primary treatment? This involves separation of solids in settling tank, that is we call it as the primary clarifier or by the flotation, right? In primary treatment it involves separation of solids in a settling tank or by flotation. The settleable solids and up to 60% of the suspended solids corresponding to approximately 35% of the biological oxygen demand can be eliminated during the primary treatment, right? So the settleable solids, say for example up to 60% of the suspended solids, which corresponds to approximately 35% of the BOD, they can be eliminated during the primary treatment, one of the crucial treatment steps. And subsequently the solids may be treated by anaerobic sludge digestion. So what happens? What is the consequence of this? This produces biogas and solids that are suitable for soil conditioning and fertilization. So you are essentially settling the solids up to 60%, corresponding to approximately 35% of the BOD. This can be cleared by primary treatment. And the biogas that is produced when solids are treated by anaerobic sludge digestion, they are suitable for soil conditioning and fertilization. So primary treatment is essential activity that needs to be undertaken for a proper application of various secondary treatment systems. So this forms the basis for taking up the next step, that is secondary treatment step. So this is an essential activity, that means you cannot skip the primary treatment process or the step, because that needs to be undertaken for proper application of the next step, that is various secondary treatment systems. In case of aerobic secondary treatment, a further function of this step is the reduction of electric energy required for aeration. Now, what happens in secondary treatment? This usually consists of biological treatments by means of high rate anaerobic treatment systems, that is anaerobic lagoons suitable for high organic loads, or it can be aerobic lagoons suitable for low organic loads. Right. So in secondary treatment, which is about the biological treatment, the aerobic lagoons, they are suitable for high organic loads, and the anaerobic lagoons are suitable for low organic loads. Right. And in tertiary treatment, this treatment step include chemical physical methods. And number two, it also include biological methods. So what are the chemical physical methods that fall under tertiary treatment? Number one, adsorption. Number two, stripping. Number three, coagulation. Number four, sedimentation. Number five, chlorination. Adsorption, stripping, coagulation, sedimentation, and chlorination constitute the chemical physical methods of tertiary treatment. And in biological methods, it is about slow sand filtration and maturation ponds. Right. So the present research, or most of the research articles, it states that, or it is mainly focused on low energy demand and low volume treatment systems and optimum process control. So a combination of high rate anaerobic treatment and aerobic activated sludge is required to meet effluent quality demands. Right. So the effective removal or the removal efficiencies reached with these kinds of combination are up to 99%, starts from 98 and can go up to 99%. So if a combination of high rate anaerobic treatment and aerobic activated sludge meet the effluent quality demands, and if the removal efficiency is reached with this kind of approach, it can go up to 99%. So the process performance depends strongly on the amounts of the solid substrates that can be removed in the primary treatment step itself. Right. And if you look at the solid waste management, there are the basic principle has 4 R's. Number 1, refuse. Number 2, reduce. Number 3, reuse. And number 4, recycle. So from solid waste management, the 4R principle is adopted. That is refuse, reduce, reuse and recycle. So what is happening in these 4R principles? Under refuse, do not buy anything which we do not really need. Right? Refuse. Number 2, reduce. Reduce the amount of garbage generated. How to do that? Alter the lifestyle so that minimum garbage is generated. Number 1, refuse. Do not buy anything which do not really need. Number 2, reduce, that is reduce the amount of garbage generated, that means by the way of altering the lifestyle so that the minimum garbage is generated. Number 3, reuse. Reuse everything to its maximum possible after properly cleaning it, and make secondary use of different items or the articles that you possess. Right? So, under reuse, reuse everything to a maximum possible after cleaning it or maintaining it, and see to it that you make sure that you go for secondary use of variety of items or the articles that you possess. And number 4, recycle. Keep things which can be recycled to be given to the refuse collectors or the rag pickers or the waste pickers. Convert the recyclable garbage into manures or other useful products. So essentially these are some of the fundamental principles in waste treatment. So I have kept it to the minimum possible. That is, refuse, do not buy anything which you do not really need. Reduce the amount of garbage generated. Reuse everything to its maximum, and recycle, keep things which can be recycled so that you can even go for converting the recyclable garbage into manures and other useful products. So essentially it is about the different approaches for solid waste and the liquid waste, and we have also discussed about the principles in the waste treatment, and in the next session we will try to understand some of the concepts associated with same energy production and the waste treatment. So we will stop our discussion over here. We will continue our discussion in the next session. Thank you very much.